More than 60 years after the end of World War II, one might think that neo-Nazi ideology no longer means very much in Europe. But news items implicating the extreme right have multiplied over the past few years. A new generation is emerging, and Hitler's grandsons are rearing their heads. Let's take a closer look and try to find what connects these news items. There is a name that regularly crops up in England, Germany and Sweden. Blood and Honor, a semi-secret network. I met some skinheads while making my films about them. I've always wondered what goes on in their heads. What do these Nazi skins want? How are they organized? Who are the ideologues propagating their ideas? The documentary you are watching began on the day I received this Kriegsbericht video, sent to me by Swedish Nazi skins. I was finally in possession of the images needed to help me fathom the world they have imprisoned themselves in. So, I decided to make this documentary, to understand what is going on today. This new generation is committed to a radical, racist and anti-Semitic campaign, aimed directly at the heart of democratic values. Our film is a survey of the extreme right wing. These images, courtesy of Kriegsberichte, take us to Sweden in search of their authors.
Sweden in the 1990s became one of the leading international producers of white hate, white power propaganda. We had some of the major international record companies here, like Nordland, like Ragnarok Records, who then became Blood and Honor Scandinavia. We have video producers, we have computer industry, etc. And this is a distinct change, you know. Until the 1990s, basically, Swedish Nazism was the kid brothers of the international Nazi movement. Nobody on the international scene even bothered to, you know, say hello to the Swedish because they were so silly and so obviously unorganized. Then, through the industry, because it had a real tremendous breakthrough here in Sweden, the Swedish Nazi scene became very influential in Europe and also in the United States.
Hello, welcome to Krigsbericht 5. We are standing in the southern part of Sweden. Behind me is the castle for Blood and Honor Scandinavia, our headquarters. And behind me we have the band Vinland Warriors from Canada.
I had already filmed concerts in Sweden, and some of these faces were familiar to me. I remember the summer of 2000, when, with the permission of Yaza and Nazi Skin, I stayed at their camp for a few days to research documents on skinhead music. Just after my arrival, there was a police raid, and their material was confiscated. This was my second meeting with Yaza, whose identity has been revealed in the main Swedish newspapers as that of one of the 62 Nazis threatening democracy there. A key figure, an archivist of historic images and an editor of current images, Yaza is the author of the Kriegsberichte video. He hesitated a while before meeting us, but finally agreed to do so. Unemployed and living on welfare, he devotes all of his time to producing racist videos.
Can you tell me why this video Kriegsberichte?
Basically, this is just racist entertainment for already converted people. we are combining the music and the politics in audiovisual format, just like MTV is doing, using all their multi-racial crap to put their message through. We are doing the same, but our message is white power.
But for you, what is exactly white power?
White power to me is white people having a right to their own destiny and controlling it. The idea kicked off so well because that was a completely new way in this struggle back in the early 90s when it was only vinyl albums and CDs as a means for propaganda. But then we hit it off with the videotape, and it was a great success, and we still carry on. Nowadays it releases are on DVD format, of course, but it's a new mean of spreading propaganda, combining the audio and the visual elements together, and it has worked pretty well.
I think the main buyer of a Krigsberichte video, in Sweden at least, I don't know how it's abroad, but in Sweden would be very young male students in school, 14 to 16 or 17 years old. That's the group they really want to reach out to, not because that a 14-year-old kid is important to the movement, they can't, produce anything, but because they know if they can get them then, when they're 14 years old, 10 years ahead they will be 24 years old, and with the education of the movement behind them, then they will become important.
In Sweden, Blood and Honor is made up of many small regional groups that organize concerts and events. The main idea is to train young people as National Socialist soldiers. Jimmy is their chief. He has just spent a year in prison for acts of violence against anti-racist activists. This weekend, a concert was planned in his small town, and the police kept a close watch on them.
Yeah, we can go up and look into them.
Okay. And what is the situation exactly with the police?
The police is just observing for the moment.
And do you know who is the chief of the police here? Name?
Yeah, I know who he is, but he's not here. But that is the command car, so he's
okay.
probably sitting in there.
Okay.
All books are hostage.
Okay. So just to understand what's happened today.
Yeah, they will just be observing and keep everything calm, they say. The concert is very important to our movement because that is a recruiting base for us. They can't ban a concert, but they can do it harder for us. The police is trying to cancel all the locals and making lives tougher for us because they know about the concerts and know why we have them.
They are allowed to have meetings. They are even allowed to have concerts, but they are not, it's not allowed to wear Nazi marks on their sweaters or what it is, T-shirts or so on. It's not allowed. It's not allowed to scream Heil Hitler or do the mark. It's not allowed. But as long as their, for example, concerts are held on without these overdues, they are allowed, yes. Yes, they are also allowed to have meeting on streets, markets and so on, as long as they don't commit a crime.
The this is really very typical krigsberichte propaganda. In every video that they have put out, they are threatening or intimidating somebody. It might be a manual how to blow up a car owned by a Jew. It might be black people, immigrants, anti-racists. There's one video where a number of Scandinavian anti-racist grassroots activists are being mentioned and specifically targeted in the same manner that the Swedish Prime Minister is being targeted here. It's nothing new. This is staple propaganda by the Nazis of Sweden.
No comments.
But what was the reaction of the Swedish society with this kind of video?
What makes you think there was any reaction? I mean, to my knowledge, no government official, no police investigation has taken place. Nothing has been said about this video from democratic authorities in Sweden. It's never been prosecuted. It's never been convicted of anything. And as far as I know, I don't think even the Swedish government is aware of the fact that this kind of material is being produced in Sweden.
People hear and people see, but they pretend not to know. This reality is disturbing, and people prefer to forget about it.
Anti-racist, AFA, whatever you like to call them, when they are seen, they are getting beaten up and they run. There is nothing much more to add about them. Pathetic fucks.
Scandinavia has become a real hub for European extremists. In Salem in South Stockholm, an international rally takes place every year. More than 2,000 top activists gather here. They come from England, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, France, Belgium and the Netherlands. It is the major neo-Nazi event in post-war Sweden. However, our questions and our camera are in the way here.
This is a restricted area only for policemen and those who stand there.
The main question is why the press can't work here.
Of course you can work.
No, he's
not inside here. You have to be outside the area.
You try to stop the press.
I don't try to stop the press. I have orders.
I was under the impression that the police wanted to prevent us from filming this march, as if this news item should be kept in the background. The police told us more than once that there was nothing for us to film. Thanks to the internet, CDs and music sales have become the main means of reaching the younger generation. A vast international distribution network is now operational. It is a parallel industry, put in place to disseminate the most radical ideas.
Can you explain what is this CDs? It's for selling during the concert? What are...
Yes, this is our CDs that we are selling, a couple of it only.
Yeah.
This is what we have prepared for the concert tonight.
Yeah.
We are selling every racial CD that we can over.
And do you have some problem with the police with these CDs?
We have very big problems with the police because they try to ban everything we do. So you can't sing anything you want because of the censorships. I also got 2 months in prison because I sold Lanza CDs once. The German band that are in jail now because of their songs.
Oh yeah, and it's forbidden in Sweden?
Yeah, most of it. Most of their songs are 2 months, and then I only sold 9 CDs, and that was enough.
As soon as a prison sentence has been served, clandestine sales begin again. it's a game of hide and seek to them. These CDs cross European borders quite easily in the boots of hundreds of cars.
Come on, boy, and get yourself tattooed. Hey, Joe, you hooped kike with your dreams of world domination. We fight until the glorious end, and this end is your extermination.
Thanks to their international network, neo-Nazis managed to circumvent the laws in force in their countries. Because of its more permissive legislation, Sweden has become a refuge for many extremists. Among them is Erik Blücher, the eminence grise of blood and honor Scandinavia. He is not a skinhead but a Nazi, a theoretician of the fight for the so-called white race.
Son vrai nom Nielsen est un professionnel du nazisme. Un homme invisible, la preuve vivante d'un réseau qui couvre toute l'Europe du Nord. Cible de son délire nationaliste, les jeunes des classes moyennes qu'il endoctrine comme ici à Molsjo, dans le sud du pays.
Previously, the leadership of the Nazi movement basically said, well, the skinheads, they are just, trash. We shouldn't bother about them. But Blücher said, this is the fastest growing white pan-European force of political soldiers. And he started promoting them, and he started supporting them. He has, over the years, written a number of texts like Hardcore Survival, linking up with both American and European Nazis. He is also a moneymaker for the movement.
Hello. Hello, Erik Blücher?
Yes.
Yes, this is Daniel Schweitzer. I call you regarding our appointment in Helsingborg.
Yes, I know that you want to tape this now. So I want to talk to you first before we do that.
Okay.
Yes.
So we can have a meeting this evening? Yeah?
No, Daniel, please wait with taping till I can talk to you first.
He had never granted any interviews before. Erik Blücher agreed to meet us on condition that his face would not appear.
Our duty is not to create some sort of lifestyle, but rather to do politics. And that is why getting political, getting realistic, and getting onwards is the main thing now.
The interview was cut short. Blücher did not want to say more in front of the camera. His last words were, "Don't be over-intrusive." Now, there are only his texts published on the internet and his books to speak for him. As a theoretician of the movement, Blücher has translated and adapted American racist ideas. He has anticipated globalization by creating Blood and Honor Scandinavia. He also participated in the development of the movement in countries of the former Eastern Bloc, such as the Ukraine, Poland, Serbia, and Slovakia. He is a go-between, serving as a liaison with American neo-Nazis. Paradoxically, the toughening of European laws has contributed to the development of new synergies with America, the country that guarantees freedom of speech in its First Amendment. Racial segregation was outlawed in the South in the 60s, and blacks are fully fledged citizens. But 50 years on, new racists are making themselves heard with proposals for a return to the past. Since the 80s, right extremist groups have figured in numerous reports of acts perpetrated against the state and democracy. After 9/11, however, America has apparently already turned this page of its history. The country is no longer concerned with the enemies within. Officially, the threat is elsewhere.
In the period following the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, the anti-war movement, there was a real sort of backing off from the very flagrant, blatant expressions of racism. Over the last 10 to 15 years, well, maybe 20 years from the time of Reagan, Bush 1, including during the Clinton years, and now, and certainly now during Bush 2, they've really taken the gloves off and people are articulating things that 15 or 20 years ago they would not comfortable saying. So I think the situation is worsening in the United States.
Well, Susan, the leader of the White Aryan Resistance denies having anything to do with the bombing of the federal building 3 months ago. And tonight in Fallbrook, he told me no one affiliated with his group is responsible either.
None of my friends had anything to do with that. What a ridiculous deal, throwing an overgrown firecracker at the front of the federal building.
His name regularly appears in, or is associated with, news items on violence in the US. Spreading his ideas of leaderless resistance to young people, he has developed a concept he names Lone Wolf, which encourages the creation of secret cells and the establishment of individual operatives prepared to go into action.
I don't think there's a great need to fight over it. Just keep doing something. Thank you. White power.
He also has numerous European contacts and knows Yaza well.
Greetings to all my friends in Europe and Finland and all around the continent. This is Tom Metzger speaking for WAR, White Aryan Resistance. And we wish you good luck and good hunting. And we hope you really enjoy this video, Kriegsrichter from Jassa. Sieg Heil!
Alors là, on va arriver près de Denison, là où habite Bart, dans son quartier. On continue tout droit. Et après le passage du train, tu tourneras à gauche, tu verras.
In this Racist America, the Kriegsberichte tape leads us to Blood and Honor's US leader. His name is Bart, and he distributes the video from Texas via the internet.
Le 1112.
This is going to be the Kriegsberichte 4 interface, and then the motion menus. Obviously, in preview you can't really see the motion,
thumbnails.
right? But the motions will be into the
thumbnails.
Yeah, they'll be into the Celtic cross.
Thumbnail.
You can't tell any difference, right? So
When we arrived, he was transferring the old Kriegsberichte videos to DVD. I knew Bart. I'd already interviewed him in my last documentary, Skinhead Attitude. He has since created a veritable online propaganda enterprise, distributing everything that is banned in Europe.
well, I've sold over 1,000 Kriegsberichte 5s myself, and then I also resell. And one of my customers is from Switzerland, Spain. They buy them in bulk, so I'm shipping 50, 60 at a time, which has now changed because now I sell them the master DVD, and they make their copies from the master DVD, and they just give me an upfront one-time price. That's not my opinion, that, yeah, the white race is being bred out. Other races have more children than the white race. It's mathematical. I don't have any really personal feeling about it. And I've always told people about my involvement in the movement. It's all math to me.
They use statistics, predicting that whites will be in the minority in the US by 2050. Where there was once talk of white superiority, now the emphasis is on the disappearance of the white race. They now depict themselves as victims.
I have my own personal weapons, and I register them like I'm supposed to, but I'll use them. I have no... It's a matter of life or death for me. And as I said, it's not something that's tangible that I can touch and see right in front of me, but it's all around me that that instinct that, you know, at any moment or over the course of time even, my color, my look, my heritage would not even be acknowledged. It would just cease to exist.
Oh, it's in the back of, it's right there in the back of the van. In the back of the van with lighter fluids in it.
What? Don't make me fucking bitch.
Fearing otherness, some small American groups have come to harbor pessimistic views of the future. So they train for combat and for the survival of their race.
Now, from here you can see a lot of cool fossils. They're all in the rocks.
Okay.
They train and they prepare themselves by creating ghost cells that can't be infiltrated.
For your legs.
The idea is that these well-organized groups could create chaos and thus encourage racial war.
Okay. I know this goes in here somehow.
This is rotated. Hold on.
Leaderless resistance is the perfect way for a radical movement to move around and act without anyone ever knowing who really did it. And the leaderless resistance was one of the main things that brought me closer into the movement because that idea was so perfect and right. Okay, I got it.
Yes, the way I went down was to go to the right.
Positioning themselves for the great earthquake. If it comes, they're there to be a multiplier for the problems. And if it doesn't, they pull back, reconstitute their message, and go out and do it again. I think that's the other message for us to understand about the so-called lunatic fringe. These are people devoted to a vision. They do believe. They have a worldview. They live their life by that. They spend their money. They raise their children in that way. And that's deeply, deeply troubling and tragic in terms of every democratic society.
Ma'am, you can step over here. The chant as we get off the bus will be, if it's brown, flush it down.
Sounds kind of Jewish scatological.
If it's brown, flush it down. Okay? That'll be the chant as we're getting off the bus. We'll continue that chant for a few minutes until everyone is off the bus.
Our meeting with Billy Roper, the White Revolution's leader, took place in a parking lot under the surveillance of the federal police and the security services. In suit and tie, he is the incarnation of a different racist America, a liaison among the skinheads, the KKK, and the classic right wing. White Revolution organized this rally in Topeka, Kansas, protesting against the anniversary of the end of racial segregation in schools. They will be meeting at the very place where, 50 years ago, the historic bill was passed.
We don't want your racist hate! Pack your shit and leave the state! We don't want your racist hate! Pack your shit and leave the state! Goodbye!
If it's brown, flush it down! If it's brown, flush it down!
Roper is someone who's considered something of a rising star on the far right, and Roper has been somewhat successful in creating coalitions in the white supremacist movement. This is his idea, to create a group, a coalition that will be able to bring about this white revolution that they desire. The problem for Roper is that even though he's much better educated and more articulate than many of the white supremacist leaders right now, he's someone who is going to come up against, and already has come up against, this infighting that goes on all the time in the white supremacist movement, and we saw that this past weekend. A group that was part of the coalition, the National Socialist Movement, backed out because they were asked not to wear Nazi uniforms.
I believe that we are already in a race war in the United States. The only difference is that the white race has not yet begun to fight back. We're being assaulted, our people are being robbed, raped, and murdered every day. The United States government, along with every other formerly white-controlled government, denies us the right to white schools, white neighborhoods, white communities, white political organizations, and everything else that would be necessary for the survival of our race and our culture. According to the United Nations definition of the term, that is genocide that is being perpetrated against the white race.
We
are here because we believe that discrimination is wrong. Yeah, everybody. And integration started here, and it goes worldwide.
And what do you think about the situation that right extremists are coming here?
I think that they need to go back home, honestly, and don't come here ever again. Yeah, that's how it is.
And it's a shame, you know, considering that after 50 years of this historic decision that we're still having this type of issues coming around. So, yeah.
And do you think a new generation of right extremists are growing up now? Or?
As far as the new generation, I would have to say yes. As the country becomes more diversified and as the world becomes more global, yeah, I see it as more extremist and more dangerous. We see that now with our political leaders and their views and everything like that also. So yeah, definitely.
So they're on the verge of being able to form an actual electoral party in the United States. We're fairly concerned about that. And that's the baseline situation. If you want, like, something more in...
I need for you to go back over to your side now.
He's on this side. He's a photographer.
He came down. No, I'm not going to talk to you. Yes, and you rode down with the bus with this group. You need to go over to this group now. And that's why I'm trying to move you back. You need to move back over, sir.
But we want to make interview to the other side.
I understand. You can do that later. You need to move to the other side now, sir.
What was it?
Probably do it.
Move back.
You don't have enough of my picture? Come on.
Go back.
Yes, it could be possible that some part of Europe might be maintainable as a white homeland or a refuge for whites from North America and elsewhere once, if it happens, that our countries and nations are lost. It would be a sad thought.
We have chapters all over Europe, from France to Germany, from Spain to Greece, from Poland, from Ukraine. We have them all over. And they all have their own chapters, we call it. They have their own churches.
Well, the customs people always ask me that when I come back through. Why am I going to Europe, and who did I stay with, and stuff like that. My passport was just filled with stamps and from all around, you know. You should have seen it when I came back from Serbia. Boy, they just, because I brought back a Serbian military jacket, you know, with the eagle and all that, and they're, what are you doing hanging out with paramilitaries? I was like, paramilitaries? Everybody in Serbia has to serve in the military. The whole country is paramilitary. But when I do go to Europe, it's always for some kind of blood and honor event or to meet people. Serbia was a big meeting, international meeting of so many people. It's almost like these missionaries that go to these other countries to spread the word of, you know, Christianity. That's almost like what I do with Blood and Honors. And there's Mirko, and my friend Nikolai, Russian girl, big Russian really. Russia is definitely one of the places in Moscow that I'd like to go visit. I got a lot of good comrades there that I've known for many years off the internet. I've met some in England, and then I met quite a few when I was in Serbia. And I tell you what, those were some nice guys. I mean, the Eastern Europeans are very, very polite. They're very nice, and I've been doing things for them on the internet for many years, and they're very loyal.
We go now from the US to Russia, because that country is inevitably mentioned by American extremists we have interviewed. We have learned that the main American groups have close links to Russian racists. They have even created cells in Moscow. Post-communist Russia has become the promised land for Western racists. Putin's Russia, at war with Chechen Muslims, is thus the key to the survival of the so-called white race. The country represents for white power a land of exile. Officially, there are close to 50,000 skinheads in Russia. The most famous Russian band, Kolovrat, appears on the Kriegsberichte tape. Proving that music knows no borders, they sing in English and Russian and perform all over Europe. Skinheads and Russian racists do not figure as independent, isolated units. They belong to the same networks.
Possible 2 o'clock? Okay, perfect. So what is the name of this cafe? Okay, in an hour. Okay, thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Okay, thank you, bye-bye.
It's Bart, the American, who put us in touch with the Russian skinheads. The movement has managed to become influential in the countries of the former Eastern Bloc.
We know Bart, we have a really very good contact with Bart. He is our friend. We saw him on the concert in Serbia last year.
Да, где выступали Chink for Attack, Violent Warriors, Battle Flag, сербская очень хорошая наша группа, наши друзья. Барт наш очень хороший друг. Мы поддерживаем наших соратников в США.
Сейчас у нас сложилась такая ситуация, что мы открываем организации. Мы сейчас считаем себя как, позиционируем себя как Бланхорн Комбатетин. Соответственно, мы требуем к людям в других городах, чтобы они были комбатетин, а не просто Бланхорн.
Да.
Il y a beaucoup de pauvreté et les jeunes gens ne voient pas la perspective de faire leur carrière dans le sens occidental. Il entre dans les bandes, d'abord les bandes des quartiers. Maintenant, ces bandes sont unies par le nationalisme. Ce ne sont pas les bandes de quartier dans le sens propre. Il y a les bandes des Azéris, il y a les bandes des Russes, Skinhead, etc., etc.
This new generation has chosen to forget history. The paradox is overwhelming. After more than 25 million people were killed in World War II, Russian youth are deliberately and overtly neo-Nazi.
Солист группы, солист бенд.
Okay.
Это Дмитрий из особого отдела по борьбе с неграми.
Il représente le département spécial de lutte contre les nègres.
Денис.
Monsieur Denis.
Солист группы Циклон Б.
Солист de la groupe musicale Cyclone B.
Ну, это легендарный человек, самоуничтожитель негров.
И быть вместе, и не теряться там друг от дружки. Просто если мы будем вместе, как говорится, тогда у нас будет сила. Если мы будем по раздельности, нас задавят. У нас нет выбора просто. Если только объединяться, вот и все.
Хотел так сказать, что наши уличные войны находятся в постоянной боеготовности. В общем, враг от нас не скроется. Вот. То есть мы всегда находимся в боевых действиях. Вот. Никогда не скрываемся. Иногда бывает, что преимущественно нас в стороне, но в общем-то мы все равно стоим. Вот. Там подтверждение шрамы на моем лице.
Просто с девушкой шел, вот. Анти, посмотрите, вот этот чурка здесь воткнулся. Просто я по улице, просто шел по улице.
Да хорошо она будет развиваться, понимаешь? Чем больше проходит времени, тем больше набираемся опыта. Чем больше опыта, тем движение больше растет. Понимаешь? Это все закономерно.
These Slavic Union militants are representative of the new violent groupings. Their symbol is a swastika inside a cross. There are thousands of them spread across the country, organized into youth divisions, paramilitary factions, and veteran groups. The leader, Dmitry Demushkin, is open about his convictions. He feels powerful, prospering as he does in the shadow of the Kremlin, and even has links to the Russian parliament, the Duma.
В отличие от Запада, вот мы себя как раз здесь отверженными не считаем. Я здесь живу, это моя земля. К нам вот так вот относятся в обществе в России. Несмотря вот ту войну, которую мы здесь прошли, я поезжаю в русские города, Ярославль, Кострому и так далее, и делаю за полгода в Ярославле организацию численностью 5500 человек. Как, по-вашему, ко мне там относятся люди?
Representing a new generation of extremist leaders, Demushkin is a sort of godfather figure to his troops. For him, the Slavic people have a vital role to play in the struggle to defend the white race. They are classified as pure Aryans. Demushkin feels powerful. Even Orthodox priests bless the swastika on the Slavic Union flag.
Je dois dire que les idées de ces gens-là, on le sympathise beaucoup à Moscou. Près de 18 à 20% des habitants de Moscou se sympathisent non avec les faits, non avec les exploits, en guillemets, de skinhead, mais à leurs convictions. Parce que si vous demanderez est-ce que vous pensez qu'il faut foutre dehors tous les culs noirs, comme on dit chez nous, je pense qu'à Moscou, vous aurez autour plus de 40% oui. Même s'ils sont les citoyens de la Russie, même s'ils ne sont pas les citoyens de Géorgie ou d'Arménie ou de Kazakhstan, foutez dehors. Foutez dehors. 40%.
Если мне поставить вопрос, за что, в чем ваша цель, это борьба за славян, мы называемся Славянский Союз, или борьба за все белое человечество, я не задумываясь отвечу белое человечество.
Faites usage de la brutalité, pour quelles raisons et dans quel cas?
Здесь можно делить это на несколько пунктов. Есть акции, которые идут спонтанно в самом движении. Я издал специальный приказ, что ни одна боевая группа, которая планирует какую-то акцию самостоятельно, не ставила никого из нас в известность об этом, чтобы мы не имели ответственности за них, чтобы они сами планировали, сами делали эти акции. И есть второй момент, когда мы решаем, что нужна какая-то акция. Это уже другой разговор. Здесь мы все организуем сами.
On his website, Demushkin applauded the murder of Nikolai Girenko, one of the few experts on Russia's neo-Nazi networks. Just before our arrival, Nikolai Girenko was killed by a couple of assassins in his own home.
В экстремистских группировках Гиренко знали в лицо. Он открыто выступал в судах как эксперт по нацистской идеологии. Нацисты открыто признались в его убийстве.
В последние годы прокуратура постоянно привлекала его в качестве эксперта по таким громким преступлениям, как недавнее убийство таджикской девочки, смерть торговца арбузами Мамеда Мамедова и дело группировки «Шульц-88».
In Russia, calls for murder are trivialized. Anti-fascists are terrorized, and the justice system doesn't react. Nikolai Girenko's murders were never found, and the police still have no leads. A few days after his execution, Dmitry Demushkin sent out an email. The Knights of the Long Knives is coming. He also mentioned the names of those next in line for execution. Among the people to be eliminated is Ludmila Alexeyeva, head of the human rights group, Moscow-Helsinki.
Здесь это господин Демушкин. Первый раз я вижу его фотографию.
this the first time I see. What is your reaction about this situation?
Честно говоря, для меня, мне удобнее жить, не веря в реальность этой угрозы. И я позволяю себе жить именно так, просто не думать об этом. Потому что если позволить себе заразиться страхом, то надо прекращать ту работу, которую я делаю, а я не хочу этого делать. Я хочу продолжать ее. По нашей Конституции преступления на почве национальной или расовой ненависти, это есть специальная статья в Конституции, это отягчающие обстоятельства. Но, может быть, потому что судьи тоже ментально близки к скинхедам, но обычно они стараются квалифицировать это как обычное хулиганство и дают самые мягкие наказания. Очень редко это бывает реальная утрата свободы. Обычно это условные наказания. Чаще это условные наказания.
Justice turns a blind eye, and there are no statistics on race-related crimes in Russia. The attitude of the authorities is ambiguous. They play on people's fears in the name of public safety and national stability.
Vous pensez qu'en fin de compte, le pouvoir russe aujourd'hui manipule les groupes extrémistes?
Il y a les groupes dans le pouvoir russe, bien sûr, plutôt dans le ministère des Affaires intérieures, dans les services spéciaux. Ce ne sont pas les politiques qui manipulent ces groupes-là.
Donc il y a une espèce d'instrumentalisation des skinheads et de certains groupes néo-nazis.
Il y en a bien sûr, et il y en aura encore, parce que c'est un instrument pour faire menacer l'opinion publique.
Russian society is sick.
Yes. Yes. That's infiltrated the xenophobia. That's infiltrated it's sick, the virus of xenophobia. It's sick, the virus of readiness to express their hate. Most of Russians are not hatred, but they are ready to support.
Racist groups take advantage of institutional weaknesses and are not afraid to be seen in broad daylight on Red Square. Their success and the power they enjoy in Russian civil life are worrisome.
Я встречался и с Милошевичем в свое время, и со многими, кто готов был себя позиционировать или добиваться каких-то целей. Встречался и с крайне правыми представителями, и Blood and Honor, и с Комбат-18, и с США поезжали, но несколько филиалов, даже враждующих между собой, вот были Ку-клукс-клана. Или, по крайней мере, представлялись они так. Мне встречались с представителями с ЮАРа, которые поезжали сюда, это фермеры, которые вербовали добровольцев в Африку.
Êtes-vous surpris de la présence de ce cadre du Front National dans ce meeting à Moscou?
Alors le sous-titre est tout à fait exact, il s'agit bien de Dominique Chaboch. Sa présence est tout à fait logique en Russie puisqu'il est l'un des responsables des relations internationales du Front National, il est membre du bureau politique, c'est un vieux de la vieille, c'est un cadre de toujours du Front National et qui assurait des relations avec les Serbes d'extrême droite et les Russes d'extrême droite. Donc de ce point de vue-là, il est complètement à sa place de représentant du Front. Ce qui est un peu étonnant, c'est qu'ils tiennent dans cette assemblée-là, devant des gens qui tendent le bras, un discours de soutien, de sympathie, et avec lesquels il a l'air effectivement en phase.
Россия – страна европейской культуры. Географически она часть Европы. Мы нуждаемся в помощи из других стран, потому что это опасно. Вот развитие ксенофобии в нашей стране опасно не только для нашей страны, но и для наших соседей. Мы большая страна, и если мы окажемся зараженным этим чувством, это будет опасно для всего окружающего мира.
It's very worrying that these extremist right-wing European parties are sending emissaries to Russia, at the same time as the European Parliament is trying its utmost to ban racist symbols. Neo-Nazi groups are weaving their webs. White power's goal is to create social chaos and to bring democracies to their knees. They are convinced of the justness of their cause and of the world they aim to create, even if this means eliminating everyone who stands in their way. The proponents of a white empire are drawing a new world map, and it should be of concern to us all. This film shows things we would rather not see, issues we are aware of, but which we prefer to ignore. We can't afford to look the other way.